Before we start, I'd like to say thank you for meeting with me. If at any point you wish to stop the interview, you're free to do so, for any reason. If there's a question you don't want to answer, you can say next question or stop the tape.
All right.
Okay. Firstly, if you could tell me your full name, your date of birth, and your place of birth, please.
Okay, my full name is Devlin Clover Higgins, and my date of birth 55. I was born in Jamaica in a place called Montpelier, and it's in the parish of Hanover, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little about your childhood in Jamaica?
Yes, my mother left me and my brother with our grandmother, but soon after our grandmother died. So we stayed with our aunt. We lived in a big yard with all the family, you know, and lots of children played together. And there were quite a few children in the district, and we all used to meet each night, you know, and play, chase frogs, and you know, things like that. We had quite good fun, really, as children, you know. It was quite a happy time. But sometimes, like they used to say, your mum's in England and that, and we used to, every time we heard an aeroplane, we used to say, oh, you know, we used to think she was in it, you know, think our mother was in the aeroplane, and that was it, really. Lots of children in that area, their parents were in England, you know.
So, as a child, did you know why your mother was in England?
Not really, no. Didn't know, really. They didn't say it, just said they were in England, you know, your parents were in England. And that was it. We didn't know why, but she used to send things for us. I think it was like every 2 or 3 weeks. We used to get a parcel and things like that. And when I was 5, we used to go to, first we used to go to, it's called a private school, and then when you're about 5 you went to sort of basic school, and by then I was quite fluent in reading and writing. I could write joined letters and, you know, things like that. I remember writing a letter to her, you know, and what I wanted and things like that. And she was, when I came to England, she told me she was really pleased. She couldn't believe that a 5-year-old child had written that letter, you know. She said she couldn't believe it. But in Jamaica, at that age, the children are quite advanced, really, you know, they're quite good. It's got a good basic education in Jamaica, you know. Yeah.
Did you enjoy school?
Yes, enjoyed school. Yes, quite. Yes, it was. They were quite strict, but I remember the headmaster his name was Teacher Reed, and he was very strict, you know. And I remember the very first day I went to the primary school, which was at Sandy Bay, and. After, I think it was lunchtime, and we had to say prayers, and then everybody said amen, and I sat down, you know, and I looked, they were all standing up, and I thought, oh. So I stood up quickly, you know, and then they said another prayer again, and amen. So I thought, I'm tired, I sat down. I heard footsteps coming up the pathway, and it was this teacher, and her name was Miss Trench, and she took me down to the headmaster, and they said, oh, this headmaster, if you're very thin, he pinches you, you know, gives you a pinch instead of hitting you. And I screamed and cried, and someone said to my brother, oh, that's your sister. And he felt ashamed. He said, no, you're not my sister, that's not my sister. Well, I went to the headmaster, and I remember him feeling my arm, and he didn't pinch me. And I felt a bit safe then, but I was really frightened that day. But I enjoyed school. The teachers were strict, but I remember our form teacher. She was very nice. She was a young lady, and she was really lovely, you know. So we enjoyed it with her. But it was nice, really.
So that was your first day when you sat down?
My first day at primary school at Sandy Bay, yeah.
You
nearly got into trouble the first day. Yes, and we used to where I lived, there weren't many vehicles there because we lived in Montpellier, and I think it was twice a week, once or twice a week, the truck used to come to deliver things. Mondays, some of the children used to jump on the lorry and to go down the hill. It's about 2 miles to school. And we used to get a free ride on the lorry, things like that. Yeah, it was nice.
So describe Montpellier.
Montpellier is a quite scenic, but it's a very hilly place. Where I live, it was called Barnyard. That's our family land, and behind us there was a valley. It was quite a lovely valley, and beyond the valley there was like a rainforest, and where we used to go to the river, and we used to as children they used to go to wash the clothes and things like that, and the older ones used to go and fetch the water and from there, because sometimes at the standpipe there was no water. The water never used to come through, so they had to go to the river. And they used to wash the clothes, and then they used to have cooking. The girls used to cook and catch fish and do things down there, swim, to teach us to swim. I remember my first swimming lesson down there, my cousin Carol, she was teaching me to swim. What they used to do is to go on the older one's back, then they'd swim out into the deep end with you, and then they'd let you go. So it was either like sink or swim. And I remember when said, "I'm going to let you go now," I sort of hung on to her neck, said, "Oh no, I'm going to drown," and I wouldn't let go. So I sort of forget about that. I'm not a very good swimmer to this day. I'm not. I can hardly swim, but most of the children learn to swim. That's how we learned to swim. It was the river. I used to call the Flint River, and it was very scenic there. Very scenic, very pretty. Rainforest. There was breadfruit trees, coconut trees, and there was lots of different sort of trees. I can't sort of remember the names and that. Then there was another river we used to go to that was called River Makati, and we used to go to that one as well. That was closer to Montpellier. But down that one they used to have quicksand and things like that. So I never used to enjoy that one so much, but it was nice, Where I lived as well, we used to say this, there was three we used to call it the crossroads. There was Miss Sophie's crossroad, she lived across the road from us. And then there was Miss Dan's, and then there was this place they called, some people say it's called Hill's Gate, but some people say it's called Hell's Gate, and so I'm not really quite sure which name it is. And we used to play with the children from Miss Mac's crossroad, which was closest to us, and we had quite a lot of fun. I remember the one night after school, this is what we used to do. We used to meet and we used to torment the frogs,
Oh dear.
We did actually. It was quite naughty of us. And the one night, one of the frog, they got really fed up of us in the end and squirted things in my friend's face.
Who did, the frogs?
The frog, yeah, the one frog did. We were just chasing them and making noise, and just for them to jump about, And it squirted this. They call it cockabeh. I don't know what that means. But
where does it come out from?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure. I dread to think, And we thought she was going to be turned into a frog, So we thought as children, we would say we were about 5 or 6, And we sort of washed her face and put lime in her face and things like that, and took her home to her mother, And we all went home. And the next morning, quite early, there was about 10 of us children up at this girl's house to see if she'd been turned into this frog, And all she had was like a rash on her face, And that's it, really.
What did you learn from that lesson?
Not to mess with frogs, of course. We stopped. Yes, we did. We stopped. And on our land, there was There was a graveyard as well where the family's buried, and we used to play through there. And there was coffee. There was quite a lot of different trees on the land. This is what they did in Jamaica when a child's born. when the placenta, they bury it under a tree, and they plant a tree on it, like a coconut tree or maho or whatever, and that's your tree. So you could, it sort of grows with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the child's tree.
That's your tree. So you could, whatever you want to do with that tree, it's, So if when you got bigger and you want to say you wanted some wood, if you wanted, you could cut it down or whatever. If it's a mango tree, if it's a coconut tree, you can sell your coconuts. Like that tree. Everybody knows that's your property, and that's how we used to say, oh, that's my tree. We used to say that. And most children, well, they all had, in their land and trees, There's quite a few aunties and stuff live on the land. And it was family land. And plus then we had this, our grandmother's family as well had some other land, quite a large land. And we sometimes go up there and say if we had needed some breadfruit or something, we used to go there for some,
Earlier on, you mentioned your family's land where you used to bury people.
Yeah.
Was it quite common in Jamaica for people to have their own cemeteries?
If it's your own property, yes. I think they said they had the parochial land as well, where say if people didn't own any land, they were buried there. But we had our own land, so you bury your family on the land. So we used to. So there never used to be any headstones in those days, but we used to know, like, say, grandmother's buried there, or aunt, great aunt, whatever's buried there, or we used to know where they were buried, things like that.
How many generations back did it go?
About, I should say, about 2 or 3. Yeah. And in that district as well, where I live, there were a lot of people. There were like cousins, and there was cousin this and cousin that, And this is what I remember. The ones I had a fright. I used to play with this girl called a Nine, and I come in one day from round where she lived. There was this old man coming along the road. Now this was my friend's grandfather. Now I've seen this man many times, but I never really took much notice of him until when I got close to him. I looked at his face, and he had this. I didn't realise he had a glass eye, but it was like it was blue or green, and I'd never seen that colour eye before, and it really frightened me. And he was trying to say, "It's me," I was absolutely petrified. I sort of jumped in this woman's garden just to escape from him. And I think back to myself, look how silly I was. Fancy I could have hurt myself jumping away like that. And he was just trying to calm me down. But, I was afraid of that. Because we didn't really see many white people where I lived, There was taught, when we went to the primary school in Sandy Bay, that was a main road down there. And further up, there was this place called Trial. And there's the tourists, the Americans used to come there. And we used to go from school up there to have a look at these Americans, to listen to how they spoke. And we thought this sounded really weird, so we used to sort of take the mickey, go, oh, We used to sort of go like that to them, and just listening to them. But we never really had much to do with white people. I remember my cousin's husband worked at Trial, and he used to sort of ride round with them, like through the rainforest and that, And one day I remember they rode through the land, and I thought it was cheeky because he hadn't asked permission. So I threw some rotten fruit at him, I did. And he said, "You wait until I get back, Miss." They used to call me Devaney in Jamaica, Devaney. And he said, "You wait, Miss Devaney, when I get you. I'll get you when I get back home."
How old were you at the time?
About 6, I should think. About 6, 6 or 7,
Can you take me to the events that led up to you coming to Britain?
Yes, I remember going to. I remember them saying, "Your mum, she's sending for you, me and my brother." And I must have been about 7, I should think. We had to go to the capital of Hanover, which is called Lucy. We had to go and get our photographs taken. So we went there, had our felt I'd never travelled that far before. I mean, Lucy's must be about 7-8 miles, I should think, away from where we live. And we went there, and but our photos taken, and just waiting for the papers to be sorted out and that. But we didn't really want to come to England. We didn't really want to come to England because we were sort of going to miss all our friends and
so everything. Who was coming to England? Just you and your brother?
Yeah, my brother and my auntie.
And your auntie?
Yeah, because her husband was over here, and we lived with my auntie and my cousin Carol, you know, and they lived in Leeds. My auntie's husband lived in Leeds. Yeah.
So how did you travel?
When we came to England, we came on BOAC aeroplane first time, and then we took we took a train. I think it was Manchester we landed in because there was something wrong, you know, but it was Manchester. Then we took the train. I don't remember if it was to Wolverhampton or where. We took a train, and then we came on the bus. But I remember when we came off the aeroplane, I didn't know my mum. It was my mum and my uncle was there to meet us, and she didn't know us either. And she said to my auntie, "Oh, couldn't you have brought the children?" And he said, "There are your children, they've just gone past, you know." And she was,
how many years had it been since you last saw her?
7 years, I think. 7 years, yeah. So I didn't remember her really at all, because I was about 2 when she left, and I was 9 when I came, you know.
Do you remember the date when you came?
I know it was September 20 something. It was like a fortnight after my birthday, you know.
So it would have been 1960.
It was 64.
64.
It was 64 when I came, 1964, yeah. And it wasn't too cold, it was still warm. So I thought, well, it's not too bad in England after all. There was still some sunlight. Then it was getting colder. Then we came, my mother had 2 more children, Yvonne and Guy. And they were afraid of us.
How old were they?
My sister, she was about 3, and my brother was 5. He wasn't too bad, but he was looking forward to us, but my sister, she was frightened of us. And she used to call my brother Mr. Stephen, you know, she was frightened because we were from Jamaica.
How old was your brother? Because you were 9.
Stephen was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, Stephen was 15. And my sister, my brother, these children used to bully him as well, you know.
Which children, sorry?
These white children used to bully him.
Your brother?
The younger brother, yeah.
Right.
So he was looking forward to his big brother to come from Jamaica to sort them out, you see.
So, which white children used to bully your younger brother? School?
No, in the neighbourhood where he played, you know, they used to hit him all the time, you know.
Where was this?
This was in Warsaw. In the Plek. Yeah, in the Plek. We used to live in the Plek. Yeah, and then when we came, I think we came on a Saturday. I remember it was a Saturday. I'll tell you why I know that, because like in our tradition, they have soup on Saturdays, you know. And I remember my sister was having soup, and I thought, oh, look how thin she is. I wonder if they don't feed people in this country. This is what I was thinking, you know. I remember thinking that. I didn't say anything, you know.
The 3-year-old was very thin.
Yeah, she was very thin. She never used to eat much, though. I realised afterwards, you know. And I was just thinking that she was like underfed, and I thought probably it's because they didn't have enough food, you know. Because where I came from, we had like abundant, you know, food galore, you know, fruit, fresh, you know, everything. Mm-hmm. And the Sunday, my brother Stephen, which is the elder one, he's the eldest. Guy took him outside to these boys, and they had a fight. You know, like the Sunday, and after that we left him alone. You know, because his big brother had come to protect him. You know. And then I remember I went to find schools. Now Stephen, he went to school first, and then my mum had to find me a school, which was in Palfrey. Stephen went to Hillary Street, and then he said to me, after he came back the first day, he said, when you go to school, when they call register, don't stand up, because they'll laugh at you. Because in Jamaica, when they used to call register, you used to stand up and say, present ma'am or present sir.
Right.
That's what they used to say in Jamaica, but in England they didn't do anything like that, and we didn't know. So I said, okay. I did, you know, because he'd suffered that. They laughed at him when he stood up, and he was embarrassed about that, you know.
So he's looking out for his younger
Yeah.
sister.
Yes, he used to make me my doll's clothes. He always used to look out for me to make my doll's clothes and things, you know. He used to look out for me when I was in Jamaica, you know. Yeah, he did.
So what were your first impressions of England?
Well, it looked a bit drab. It did. I remember looking out from the aeroplane and thinking, what's that smoke? And I didn't know what the smoke was, and I didn't realise it was the chimneys and that, you know. I'd never seen anything like that before, but it looked dull, very dull to me, you know. And it was just different, really. The trees, I couldn't understand why the trees didn't have any fruit on the trees. And I remember when it was sunny, they used to say, "Oh, it's a lovely day," and I was freezing. I used to think, "Well, it's not." I didn't think it was a lovely day, you know, things like that. I couldn't think what it was so lovely about it, and it was so cold. And then I started nagging my mum, says, "Oh, I want to go back to Jamaica. I don't like this country, you know." And she said to me, "You've got to speak English so that people can understand you." And I said, "I'm not speaking that, you know, I'm not speaking English."
So what did you speak?
Patois,
Okay.
Jamaican
Yeah.
dialect, you know. But I could speak English as well, but not so good. There was you know. And what I remember when I used to go home from school now, I never used to speak at home to them because I didn't want to speak English, you see. And my brother Guy, he says to my mummy, "Why isn't Dev speaking?" And she says, "Take no notice because she doesn't want to speak English, you know." But in the end, I had to, you know, eventually I had to do it. I remember I was quite bright in Jamaica at school. And then that transition to England, because I sort of didn't understand what was going on so much, I sort of lost, what's the word I'm looking for? That direction. I just lost interest, you know, I couldn't understand the teacher when they were speaking, because I had that, like, the black country, and it really was, that to me, that wasn't standard English, really, you know. So their dialect was a bit difficult for us to understand as well, you know.
Did your teacher, your peers, also have problems understanding you?
Yeah, they did, yeah. I tried to speak slowly to them, yeah. I tried to, I think they did, yeah, they did really, yes, they did. But it was just the same, we didn't sort of understand them either. You know, so there was a lot of misunderstanding in those days.
So what you're saying is you were good at education.
Yeah.
In Jamaica. So, and you're saying it suffered due to
I think so. Yeah.
Change?
Yeah. I'm positive it did. I suffered through that change. I think if I'd have continued in Jamaica, I would have been better off in a way. But educationally, I mean, you know, but I don't know really.
Were teachers encouraging here?
No, I don't think so. They weren't. Not really. They weren't encouraging at all. They were more like, to me, they used to sort of pick on you, you know. I'll tell you what happened to me at school. This is an incident now. We moved school to this place called Allenwell School. Now, we were the first black people to go to that school. And in my brother's class, the teacher, she was prejudiced. Now, he used to come home every night and he was in trouble every night. Mm-hmm. Now, we used to say, "Oh, you must have been doing something wrong for the teacher to say that." Because we sort of, in the Caribbean, you respect teachers, you know. Mm. And he says, "But I haven't done anything wrong," he used to say. And he says, "Oh, you have, you must have done." Anyway, it went on for a while. And then, now, I remember at the time it was 5 shillings for our dinner. used to 5 shillings to pay for our dinner. And this particular teacher, I don't know if I can say her name. Her name was Miss Simmons. Now she lived in our street as well, right? And she was young, quite a young teacher. She was about 20 odd, you know. She used to be on duty Mondays with her friend. And then after a while, I suddenly realised I was eating cold food every Monday, you know. And then I thought, there's something wrong here. This can't be right. So I said to my friend, which was a white girl, I said, don't speak to me in the queue. She says, why? I says, just don't. When we go inside, don't speak to me, because I'm wanted to prove something here. So I went in nice and quietly and got my dinner. Then we said grace, and then she says, Devlin, get outside.
Who said this?
The teacher did.
Right.
So I said, why? She says, just get outside. I says, why have I got to go outside? I says, every Monday, I said to her, I'm eating cold food. I says, I pay 5 shillings for my dinner. I says, my dinner's not free. I says, I'm not going to eat cold food today. I says, anyway, I'll go outside. So I went outside and played, you know. And then they called me in about half an hour later. And I didn't eat the dinner, I just had a pudding. After lunch, when we sort of went back to the class, my form teacher, Miss Warner, she said, she was mumbling something, you know, you shouldn't have done it, you know. And she was like, I was thinking, what is she on about? And the headmaster calls me, you know. So I went to the headmaster, and he was livid, he was like a demented man. He was going on at me, I'm not having your sort here and this and that, and he was just going on. I sort of didn't know what was going on.
How old were you at the time?
I was 11. We were waiting to go to senior school. And he said, and he threw 4 shillings down on the floor, you know, and I didn't pick it up. I was really upset and I was crying, and I was, you know, I just didn't know what I was supposed to have done wrong. I can only presume that she said that I swore, you know, or something like that. It could only be that, you know. And I sort of never forgave her. I've always had her in my thoughts over the years. And after that, I sort of lost respect for teachers, you know. And
what was it about? What was that about, do you think? Because what was the reason for you saying to your white friend, the young girl next to you, don't talk to me today? What was all that about?
Because I thought I must have been talking for her to be sending me out, because in the queue you're supposed to be quiet or whatever, and inside there must be something wrong why she's sending me out, I thought to myself. So I thought that could only be because I'm talking.
Okay, for clarification, when you said you had cold dinners every Monday...
Every Monday.
You meant, what that means is you were sent out and you had to have your dinner later?
Yeah, that's what she used to do.
Okay.
That's what she used to do. And then and I could have my pudding was warm, sort of, after she'd called me in then. But it suddenly dawned on me, I was eating that cold dinner every Monday, you know, and then I thought, I'm going to put a stop to this, because there's something wrong why she's doing it.
And it's only Mondays when she...
when she was on, Mondays, that's when she was doing it. She was really naughty, really. She just hated black people. There was a mixed race boy in her class. Now, she liked him a lot, but she didn't like if your skin was darker. She just didn't like it if you was black. She didn't like it at all. And I thought my brother was in her class. She used to send my brother to the headmaster nearly every day for the strap. She was a bad woman. She was. And the friend as well. I could see them. I remember looking back, and I could see them like grinning to each other when they were going to send me outside, you know. And I was thinking, you know, I'm not having this.
How many other black children were there in this school?
There was me and my brother, and there was at Glenville. He was mixed race boy. There was an Asian lad in my class, Amrit. Yeah, Amrit. And that was it. There weren't any more. You know, in that area, they didn't have many black people up there at all, you know.
So, apart from that, the rest of schooling, what was that like when you went to secondary school?
Secondary school, now, in secondary school, because of that incident, now teachers had to prove themselves to me for my respect. if I thought they didn't merit my respect, well, I just hadn't, you know, had no respect for them. But and then there was this headmistress. When I went to the because I must have had they gave me a bad report from the school, right? And the headmistress, she was nasty to me, Miss Alexander.
At the new school.
At the new school. Anyway, she tried to keep me. She tried to keep me back. You know, this headmistress did.
What do you mean by that? Keep you back?
She tried to keep me back by. This is what she did, and you know, when we did our our exam for the year to sort of move class.
Yeah.
She didn't move me up. She put me in the lowest stream, in a C stream. Now that year she retired, and we had a new headmaster, Mr. Owen. Now this man, I tell you, this was the best teacher I've met. Really nice gentleman, and he apologised. He when the form teacher that put me in her class realised I was brighter than the other children, she told the headmaster, you know, and they looked at my work, they could see, you know. And Mr. Owen, in assembly, apologised for what he said a great wrong has been done to a pupil in this school, and I apologise unreservedly. I remember him saying that, and it apologised to me personally as well, you know.
Did everyone agree with this? I mean, how did the other teachers?
Well, they sort of felt ashamed. They didn't say anything to me, but you know, you could tell they were ashamed. But after she had gone, things weren't so bad. Miss Alexander, after she went, it wasn't so bad. But there was this one form teacher. If she could get you in trouble, she would. She'd tell tales to Miss Alexander. And they used to have this. They used to have two books: Bad Conduct, Good Conduct book. And mine was full of bad. The least thing I did, it was in this bad conduct book, you know. And then you had to send for your parents. And my mum came down. And Miss Alexander told her all these things, all the bad things I'd done, you know, and all sort of rubbish. When she'd finished, my mum says, Mum said, well, I am most surprised, Miss Alexander. My daughter is such a wonderful person at home, you know. And she told her how fantastic I was. And Miss Alexander was really embarrassed, you could see that day. And she said, well, we'll turn a new page over, we'll start a new book. You know, I thought, yes, mother, you know, I thought that was very good. Because I wasn't a bad person or anything like that. I mean, I was spirited. You know what I mean? But I wasn't a bad child, really, you know. But I'd stand up for my rights. Always stood up for my rights, always. Wouldn't let them get away with it. If I saw things going wrong, I'd speak up. And I remember near our school, I was the second school I went to, and there was this high school, and there was some racist children there. They used to try and pick on us, you know, as black children. And I remember this Asian lad, they tried to push him in the road, in Plick Road. And, you know, I put a stop to that. And they started to start on me. So one of them, I was coming from religious instruction that day, and he knocked my Bible in the road. And I thought, I'm not picking it up, you know. So I went to the right, so I'm going to report them to their headmaster, you know. So I marched right into their school.
These were lads from a different
school?
Okay.
And my friend says, oh, you're not going in that school. I said, I'm going straight to the headmaster. And I did. I went to the headmaster and reported them. And then next thing I knew, they sent apology to our school, you know, and things like that.
How old were you at the time?
I should be about 13. 13.
So you mentioned religion there. How active, or what part has religion played in your life?
In Jamaica, religion was very important. We went to Sunday school and Evelyn. It was like the main thing was religion in that district, because really there was no televisions or things like that, you know. And like Sundays they used to like have cricket, Saturdays they had the dance hall and things like that, you know. But religion was very important in our life, very important. Come to England, we used to go to Sunday school, you know, But there weren't many black churches when I came. We went to the white people's church, you know, like the local St. John's church. But the service was different. It wasn't like how we used to do it in Jamaica. In Jamaica, it was more enjoyable.
How was it here?
Dull, very dull. And the singing, I didn't like their singing at all, you know. And because in Jamaica, I remember, like when we used to do, a golden text, we used to learn it each week. We used to say, our golden text is taken from St. John or whatever chapter in the Bible, and then you had to say that part of the scripture, what it was, you know. When in England, it was like writing and drawing and colouring in, you know, things like that. I think this is really stupid, you know. Mm-hmm. But you did it, you know, because, you know, that's how the people in England were, you know. You just sort of tried to fit in with their life, how they sort of behaved. You just tried to fit in, really. All the time, we're just always trying to fit in, you know.
Were you received well in churches as a black person?
Well, I didn't notice that we had been as we were children, but I heard the older ones saying that they weren't received well. Like when they went there, they didn't like them to come in there. The people didn't want to sit by them or things like that. But as children, you didn't sort of notice things like that so much, you know. Sorry, I didn't really take much notice of that part of it. But we didn't sort of go to their main service like in Jamaica, as we would enjoy the service, you know. And after that sort of petered out a bit. Then the black churches started up, you know, sort of gaining a bit more momentum, you know. And I never sort of used to go so much. But I've started again, you know, I sort of got baptised last year.
So how did that come about? I mean, you belong to a church now.
Yeah, I go to Mount Shiloh Church now in Wolverhampton. And my cousin goes there as well. My mum was a Christian. She went to a church in Warsaw. And I used to go there sometimes as a visitor. But when she died, I stopped going to that one and started to go to this one in Wolverhampton, you know. Yeah.
So, other than that, how, apart from education, how else in life in Wolverhampton did you make home?
Well, I went to college after school. I was going to go in clerical work, and then, I had a job lined up and everything, interviewed, everything. And I should have started, and I just said, I think I've changed my mind, and I thought I'll go into nursing. So I sort of went to the college and did some exams and that, you know, did nursing. That's another thing as well. Now, in Wolverhampton, we had to do this test called a GNC test to see if you could do an SRN or an SEN. And if you passed, you could do the SRN. Now I did this exam and I passed. And the woman that interviewed me, she said, we wouldn't accept you as a student, you know. So that put me off. But when they said, it's not so much different, it's just 1 year less. And because I was like eager to earn money, and I thought, I'll just go for the 2 year, you know, it will finish quicker. Not really realising the consequences at the time, you know what I mean? But after, say I'd been there about a year, 18 months at the Royal in Wolverhampton, some black girls were there and we were all talking one day and realised that this lady who'd done the interview had done the same thing to many of us that passed the test, and she'd recommend you for the 2 year instead of the 3 year, because the SRN was more prestige, you see, and SEN was 2 years, and she was like not recommending the black people to do the SRN, you know.
So therefore limiting their opportunities.
Yes, she was, yes. And this black girl, she was doing her student. She said to us, she tried it with her, but I think she had about 8 or 9 O level, and she said, you know, she insisted that she wanted to do the SRN, and that's how she got to do it, you know. And these other girls who said because she'd put them off, they'd left there and gone to like Sandwell or somewhere else where they were a bit more accommodating to people, you know. And then I realised that this was been going on for years. She'd been doing that, you know.
So was she exposed, or was she?
No, she wasn't. She wasn't really exposed. Nowadays she would be. She wouldn't be nowadays. Miss Berry, her name was. She would be now. But things weren't so exposed in those days. They just sort of spoke among each other, you know, and but we didn't sort of do anything about it. We should have done, really, you know.
Could you tell me maybe how you met your husband and a little about your family?
I met my husband. It was, this girl was having her 21st birthday party at New Cross Hospital, and she was from Birmingham, and there was a load of Birmingham people came down, and he was among them. Now, he's since told me that he said to his friend, I'm going to meet my wife tonight. This is what he said, you know. Anyway, we were there, like, and I remember it was time to go back to the nurse's home. It's to get in for a certain time. And there was 3 chaps standing by the door, and I says, oh, who's going to escort me across this dark place, you know? And he sort of volunteered, and then when we sort of went over there, we were talking for hours, actually, you know. And there was this lady called, this lady who was supposed to mind the nurses at night. She was sat there for like a chaperone. And we were talking for about 2 hours afterwards, talking. Then I had forgotten actually about him. And about 2 weeks later, someone says, oh, Willie, there's someone downstairs for you. And I says, so this chap told me his name. And I says, I can't think who that is, you know. Anyway, I went downstairs, and then I thought, oh my God, it's a chap, you know. And that was it. That's how we met each other, really, you know, at this party. And sort of been together more or less ever since.
And that was during your 2 years of training at New Cross? Sorry, at the Royal.
Royal and New Cross. We had to do like a year at the Royal and a year at New Cross. That's how they did it. Yeah. There you sort of met all sorts of people from all over the world. Yeah.
Because you came to this country at an early age, do you feel more British than Jamaican? Do you still are you still connected to Jamaica?
I feel, when I'm in Jamaica, I love Jamaica a lot. But after about a fortnight, I want to come back to England, which I thought I want to go back home. You know, but I think about Jamaica like every day. It's always in my thoughts. When I first came here, I remember I used to think about Jamaica quite a lot. In my mind, I used to sort of walk the path so I wouldn't forget what Jamaica was like. I used to walk to different places in my mind, you know, and that's how I sort of remembered Jamaica. So when I went back, I could still remember like where to walk and things like that. But how do I feel? Do I feel more? I don't really. I don't know. I've got dual citizenship, and I feel like British and Jamaican. You know, I feel like both, really. You know.
Well, like you said, when you were in Jamaica for about a couple of weeks, you want to come back home, so you miss.
Yeah, England. Yeah.
And
I've spent most of my life in England. You know, I've spent most of my life. I mean, when you go to Jamaica, they say you're a foreigner anyway. Because, I can't sort of speak patois as I used to. That twang has really gone, you know. I haven't really got it, really. But I can still, you know, like these new songs I've got now, these reggae music. I can't really understand what they're singing about. It's a bit, by the time I've worked out what they've said, like the song's finished, you know, so... I don't know, I don't know what I feel like, really.
How has Wolverhampton changed since you first came here in terms of the way people interact?
Well, I think the cultures are of sort of, and I'm thinking about most of the cultures are sort of entwined with each other. You know, this is how I see it, and I think people are interacting better with each other now. You know, it's racism's still there, but it's not as bad, it's not as raw as it used to be. You know, but it's still there, still there. I mean, even on the buses sometimes, I tell them still don't want to sit by you, you know. Well, I don't really mind, because I really don't like people to sit by me on the bus anyway. So that doesn't really bother me.
Sorry, can you just move your hands away?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so, I say, when I'm in Jamaica, I feel British, and when I'm in England, I feel Jamaican, you know, I'm like that. Yeah.
Are you treated as a foreigner at all, or with any prejudice, with any difference in Jamaica? Because now you're an outsider.
Yes, you are, because my sister and my nephew went to there's a place we went to visit in Jamaica. Now they had two prices. They had the foreigner price and the Jamaican price for their people, you know. And this man said to me, like $300, and on this ticket it tells you how much you should pay, you know. And I went, what? I says I am born, yeah. So I said to him, and he went, oh, sorry, you know, and he charged me a decreased price. I thought, the devils, really, you know.
What was the item?
It was to go to this. It was it wasn't an item. It was to visit an historical place. Right. Yeah. It was to this an excursion. Yeah. It was this. It's called. I've forgotten the name of the place, but it's like a rainforest and it's like a river and there's waterfalls and that. And I'd never seen it before, and we thought we'd go and see what it was like, and it was really lovely, you know.
So they had two prices, one presumably to make a profit from the tourists.
Yeah. And because of how we'd spoken to them, like if we go to Jamaica, my cousins will say to me, you don't say anything, don't speak, because they'll charge you a different price. They can hear, you know. And even if you don't speak, they'll look and think, well, their clothes are like foreigners, you can tell, you know. They call you a foreigner anyway. The very first time I went to Jamaica, they said, Englander! So they were saying to me, you know, they know you're from England. Or foreigner.
What do you think has been your personal contribution to the area, this country, this town?
Well, service really, and tending, because I'm a nurse, you know, really, I've been sort of, it's the community, caring really, caring towards the community, and I try to get on with folks. I'll get on. I've got quite a lot of friends, you know, a lot of mixture of friends. I'm not just black. I don't sort of just have one sort of friend. I've got a mixture of friends, you know, like all different religion and stuff like. I've got their friends of mine, you know. Yeah, so I'll sort of mix with anybody and everybody, you know. Yeah.
How do you think? What does the future hold?
The future.
In terms of race relations?
Well, I hope it will continue to improve more and more. Sometimes I keep saying I'd like to have a place in Jamaica, just for holidays, you know. But I don't know if I'd really live in Jamaica, you know. Sometimes you hear of this violence having, which it's not down where, it's not in Hanover. That's mostly in Kingston. But you know, you'd like to sort of go there and just relax. Some people, I mean, I know lots of people who go out for 6 months and things like that and come back in the summer, you know. But I don't know if I'd sort of do that. I don't know if I could stand it out there for that long, you know. And I hope things will improve in England between the races. And that's it really. I'm sure it will actually. I'm sure it will, because things are coming to the fore now. I mean, people are speaking, talking about things now more than they used to. Things used to be more covert, you know what I mean? But now it's not so bad. Yeah.
Okay, on that note,
yeah.
Thank you for meeting with me and sharing your
Yes.
experiences with me.
I hope it was helpful to you.
Thank you.
Okay.